Bakwe, who just spoke, made the point that she ordinarily belongs to another party, but that she's obedient. This is just common sense. As my friend who impersonates me by looking like me, called Belmore Bruce, you say common sense. The journey that we are undertaking, the journey of transforming a country we all love, but which has made us cry many times, is a journey of total commitment. You know, the famous story of the chicken and the bean and their contribution to breakfast. And the chicken was bragging about all the eggs that get consumed at breakfast, a great contribution to breakfast. And the pig said, your commitment is partial commitment, just egg that you drop. My commitment, in terms of something I've just been eating there, is total. When you get that bacon, the pig has to go. So his commitment is total. And so must really be this commitment of our transforming our country. There's so many groups that have evolved in the process, and I want to salute them, pay tribute to their efforts. Yesterday I was repeatedly hit in the face by people who were saying, but how do we make a contribution to ensuring that this dream comes true? Now, obviously, there are many ways that you can make a contribution. We like to encourage an active contribution. Of course, you can make a useful passive contribution. A useful passive contribution may be to give some money. That's useful, but it is passive. The contribution that I like to generally encourage is one that quickens action, even if financial resources go into it. And one of the things that we talk about when we engage people in diaspora is their influence. Sometimes I think that people in diaspora underestimate their influence at home. Unfortunately, and that's part of what we would like to change in Nigeria, we've created a culture that is very significantly an entitlement culture. My brother is somewhere in Washington, D.C. I'm entitled to the benefits of his work there. And so when he remits a couple of $1,000 for you to begin to clear the foundation for his house, you go and solve your own problems with it. And say, you kill your brother because of ordinary money. So part of the problem of that entitlement culture has crept into how we see solving of our country's problems. But we in the diaspora can use that influence, that power, to do much more. If all of us were to identify a number of relatives, some can be as many as 10, or friends, or people who you are in touch with, they don't have to be those who are dependent on you for support. And you said to those people, if you want to end the condition that we have in Nigeria, you have to become obedient not only in talk but in action. How do you become obedient in action? Now, one way that you can do that, and when you talk about structure, and yesterday you all listened to the candidate talk about structure as structure of criminality. It is really a structure of criminality, but how it works is that because resources can be taken easily from the public treasury in the situation of state capture that we have in Nigeria, those who are in power, state governors, just literally, all of you know what we call, what do you people call it again? This thing that you people take money from.
Ghana must go.
The ATM of the government, they call it security votes. governor of the state can ensure that half of the state's budget is in the security vote. And the security vote, he doesn't have to account to anybody how he spends it. So he could literally just take the budget of the state, half it, and put it in his pocket. And there will be no questions asked. That's the nature of the democracy that we have been running. Now, when it comes to election time, the candidate of the APC or PDP will say to the governors in the party, we expect you to each contribute, I don't know, 3 billion naira. And so while people are starving, the budget for providing services to them, just taken by the governor through the security vote or whatever means, and passed on to those who are canvassing for the party. And you have a chain of dependence through this network that we now call structure. These fellows get paid money they come to every meeting. By the way, in Nigeria, when you go to a political party meeting, there's a budget to pay for your coming to the meeting. There's a budget to pay for what you will have at the meeting. And so these resources come in to the structure from the treasury is what then enables a number of people to be at the polling booth. And obviously a regular, honest candidate will not have people at what? How many? 176,000. How many polling booths do we have again in the country? It is almost impossible for a normal candidate to be able to find enough people to be at all these polling booths. So what they do is they go to the ones where you can't find people to go to, and they just write whatever they like. And there's nobody from your side to prevent that from being done, and that's how the votes come. That's how the elections get quote-unquote rigged. Now, we have been building a structure, but not a structure of criminality. What you depend on is influence here, but you also have to do some financing of the last mile, especially like on election day. And so, part of the suggestion that I like to make is reach a number of relatives or people you influence and get their polling booth location and get them, first of all, to become canvassers in that area. If we get a number of canvassers who all of them automatically make themselves available as agents, monitors, and all of those things, you can get to a saturation point that prevents the structure from being able to abuse the vote of the Nigerian. And that is what I would, first of all, encourage all of you to do. And the second level of this actionable engagement would be to say, clearly, there are areas that need to be covered in terms of evangelizing the mission that we have all set for ourselves to reclaim our country. Now, if we were to say, hey, DC area folks, could you take care of Lagos? Now, you know, I don't, look, there's no secret about Father Bola Tinubu is a good friend of mine of many years. Whenever people want to look for trouble, they release a photograph of me dancing with him. That's okay. But we also know what happens in Lagos. I can tell you because, look, we'll talk about alpha, beta, and all of those things. The idea of enumeration and the system that eventually was taken over by alpha, beta came through me. I shouldn't say from me. I'll be unfair to the person who came to me with this idea in 1999. And I suggested it to Tinubu and his group. These fellows were all given areas to do enumeration. They get a certain percentage of the tax that was coming from it. After a couple of months, the system was properly placed, they sacked everybody and then gave it to one company. In America, we see them in touring coaches. The people travel around the candidates. Suppose you were to say, oh, let's send you a couple of those or whatever. That would be a direct contribution to something that would have a real effect going down. Finally, I would just like to wrap up on some of these questions. I say there have also been groups that have found other ways of trying to raise money. There's a group sitting here. They are part of the 40 million ballots initiative. The idea started to find 40 million fresh voters. Because if we have eligible voters, 100 and something million or whatever, and we've needed to pass no more than 20 million votes to determine who is president of Nigeria. If you could register 40 million new voters, it would obviously change things. Maybe those currently voting are those that you can buy and the price is known. With the new voters, even if you're buying their votes, it would complicate their ways. So groups such as this would be useful in the process, and you can create new groups.